Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing the behind the scenes so far to Antimatter Part 4 of 5, for once I've actually got the part right of the episode. And yeah, it's quite insane to think. Usually I feel like I start off a part of an episode, i.e. part 1, 2, and that as the longer episodes, so like 10-15 minute long episodes, parts to an episode, and then parts 3 and 4 are usually the shorter ones, or vice versa sometimes. Usually, well, actually that's a lie. I might actually, part 1 might be 10 or 15 minutes, part 2 and 3 are usually the lull and all the, for lack of a better term, and I hate saying this, but the padding, and that, and then part 4 is usually the mad dash run around, well, not run around, but mad dash, try and wrap everything up into a somewhat satisfying conclusion. And yeah, I'd probably never really succeed with that. Maybe the setups, the part 1s are usually the strongest ones, I think personally on my end, creatively, that I do. But yeah, this episode, or this part, or this sort of story has very much been very surreal, very, sort of surrealism, sort of thing. It's a mishmash of episodes that I really like, or gothic horror-y, trippy episodes, like gothic horror / trippy episodes. So bits of, obviously, there's quite a lot of references in this episode and this part specifically to the Three Doctors. Scherzo is another one that's kind of like a inspiration for this one. The Doctor's wife. The sort of plot twist, the partway through of it being a multi-doctor story of sorts, or multi-doctor story of sorts. Because in my head, I always feel like weird saying multi-doctor and then it only being 2 doctors, because that's only really happened twice in 57 years, or nearly 57 years of Doctor Who, in the main show, in the main canon. Well, I hate using that word, but in the main show, i.e. the TV show, it's only happened twice. It's only happened in, obviously, the 2 Doctors with Colin Baker and Patrick Troughton, and then the 2 Doctors with, the Twice Upon a Time with Peter Capaldi and the First Doctor there. So, it's only happened once in the classic series and once in the new series, so it is kind of weird, and that saying that they're multi-Doctor stories, because in my head, I always feel like multi-Doctor stories are at least 3 Doctors, like our current Doctor, and 2 past Doctors, and then other Doctors. Hence the reason why last time when I was mentioning about how I'm surprised they never did in the classic series a sort of Doctor Who story that could have just been a normal, sort of run-of-the-mill story in part 1, 2, and then boom, part 3, you introduce, say, I don't know, John Pertwee or Patrick Troughton in a 4th Doctor story, or a 5th Doctor story, or Tom in a Tom Baker's 4th Doctor in a in a 5th or 6th Doctor story. That would have blown people away and definitely probably boost the ratings, and had an impact on the show overall. Granted, you could argue then it would really sort of tank the show when they left or stopped being in the episode, and also damage the sort of perception of that current incarnation, if that makes sense. I.e., if and when people sort of if say Jodie stays for the 60th anniversary and they get, like, say, David Tennant and Matt Smith to come back, or Pete Capaldi and David Tennant, or whoever, then people, for whatever reason, there probably always will be these people who will be like detractors and haters who will then be like, oh, well, the current show doesn't work, or the current Doctor, or the current showrunner, or whoever doesn't work because they're just getting old folk, or the older folk from the better golden age of the show. And it's like, well, they always do that for multi-Doctor stories. And also, going back to my previous part 3's behind the scenes so far, I don't think, I might have done, I can't remember, I haven't watched the behind the scenes for part 3 before doing this part behind the scenes for part 4. And also, I might have already said this but in the previous one, but if I haven't, great. But I had this thought that, like, I said that about the classic series not having like a plot twist of having a multi-Doctor partway through or sort of story, but then maybe even went so far as to say they've never done that in Doctor Who ever. And it's like, well, actually they kind of did with series 12 episode 5 with Fugitive of the Jejune, which, yeah, that was like an oh shit moment. with the Ruth Doctor that was insane. And that, I hope, thinking about it, I hope the antimatter creature is a good villain or a good creature / monster sort of thing. You know, it is kind of like when you find the distressing realization that really the baddies in Flesh and Stone and Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone are really just doing it for fun. You know, to take these people's lives, and that really gets under the Doctor's skin and pisses him off. Not too dissimilar motives here, where it's just literally a case of like this kind of place being kind of like the plug hole at the end of the universe, and or an antimatter universe where like this creature is just made of antimatter, and so it can feed and or nourish itself on positive energy from our universe, and so if and when people do come from our universe through parts of the vortex or the cracks in the vortex, then it will feed on them. And I might add something about the cracks in the vortex, because I've only just remembered that as like an idea. You know, like the void, like, you know, stuff from like Army of Ghosts, Doomsday, Army of Ghosts, or Army of Ghosts Doomsday, which is a two-parter I haven't watched in years. That'd be a cool watch along video, or tweet along video, or tweet along episode. Anyway, yeah, but yeah, also moving on to the First Doctor, I really do feel bad that for anyone who is a massive First Doctor fanboy, fan even, I totally butchered that, but First Doctor fan, I'm worried that I've completely botched and ruined and just done a complete disservice to either of any of the Doctors who've played the First Doctor, or actors who've played the First Doctor even, i.e. William Hartnell, Richard Hurndall, or David Bradley. You know, I am obviously, disclaimer, spoiler alert, but neither of them. I'm not any of them. You know, say what you will about Richard Hurndall or David Bradley trying to capture William Hartnell, and also as a fan, I, spoiler alert, haven't really watched a lot of William Hartnell. I've got the Dalek Invasion of Earth, I've watched that one, I've got the 10th Planet and the Regenerations box set, I've watched that one, and I've got Doctor Who The War Machines, and I haven't watched that one. So I've got, yeah, three William Hartnell even stories, and I've watched 2 of 3. So, you know, and then I've got Twice Upon a Time, but that's another thing. And then I've not really even got any of the First Doctor Adventures stuff again, but that's with Thingy with David Bradley. And then also I've got the 5 Doctors, but again that's with Richard Hurndall. So yeah, I tried to explain why the Weeping Angels were here and that. I don't know if I did a good enough job. I liked the idea of having the Weeping Angels actually be a little bit of a threat. Like for the episode, you just think they're just like background sort of decorations, as it were, or ancillary characters, and then just chilling there. And then yeah, boom. One of them, you know, like they blink, boom, they'll latch on to the First Doctor and have him in a headlock sort of thing. You know, kind of like that Vicar dude who was in, again, Flesh and Stone, or the Weeping Angel 2-parter in Series 5. And the only reason why I had the cap, or the video, my video camera cap there was literally just to hold up this guy. So, although I kind of like it, because it kind of looks like a little transporter disc in my head, because I'm a nerd, because I'm insane. Also, I feel like I overused the cane, trying to sort of visually do stuff with that, which is kind of weird saying that out loud. And then you've just got the 8th Doctor chilling all over the way there. Fuck me, I cannot speak today. Jesus Christ. Funnily enough, or like little random insider, like as though this is a business or like some sort of credible production team. Sort of insider thing here about this is that honestly, it's Wednesday. No, fuck me, it's Sunday even today, May the 3rd. Yeah, May 3rd, Wednesday, 2020. Other words that mean the date. And the funny thing is, I've been trying to do this part since about Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it just got pushed back to the Sunday. And I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad that I've finally got this part out. And yeah, I like quite a bit of, if you couldn't already tell, like the sort of Day of the Doctor / Five Doctors, or I like the multi-Doctor stories where the Doctors have banter. I know that wasn't in a lot of the Three Doctors, and it was a little bit maybe more ingrained in the Five Doctors, and it's the most in sort of Day of the Doctor, and maybe that's why people don't like Day of the Doctor. I don't get why people don't like Day of the Doctor. Myself, I like all the multi-Doctor stories. Well, I haven't really watched, I think I've watched it maybe once or twice, but when I was really younger and only just got into Classic Who, so I genuinely don't even really remember much of it. But the Two Doctors, that's probably the one that I haven't really watched a bunch of. But other than that, I like every other multi-Doctor story again, like, so Three Doctors, Five Doctors, Time Crash. Well, again, with like Time Crash or Twice Upon a Time or even the Two Doctors, I have a hard time remembering that they're multi-Doctor stories, but yeah, so I kind of keep having to remind myself this is technically a multi-Doctor story. My first ever multi-Doctor story. I love the imagery of the cliffhanger that I did last time, I'm not going to lie, of the 3 Weeping Angels and the First Doctor, and that. It's like, earlier today I was just thinking, like, for me that's like so cool, because it's, as a fanboy, like, sort of making this, it's like the sort of top tier aspect, and better tier aspect of like New Who, i.e. the Weeping Angels being like Moffat's, sort of really good sort of B/A tier, maybe even sort of monster / baddie, and then the OG original Doctor, well, barring the whole Timeless Children thing, but still, like, the original actor who played the First Doctor being in one of my stories, and that, that's, so it's like the sort of most mysterious, most mystique, / mysterious, original sort of Doctor who hasn't, done X, Y, and Z, where that Doctor is. And I don't number the current Doctor, just because then it's like a bit too close to the show, and then I feel like I personally would try and be like, oh, where does this fit in the timeline of the rest of Doctor Who? And it's like, obviously it doesn't, because this isn't Doctor Who, the actual show. This is just me dicking about, making my own, little stories and that. And maybe this is why I like the classic series so much, because it's more experimental, it's more bonkers, it's more sort of, there's more of a niche sort of homely vibe to it. Like, they were just trying to make anything with just a shoestring budget, and it's so, I feel like it's so one ingrained into British culture as a British person. There's that, and then also it sparks the imagination as a kid, and or even a young adult now. But then thirdly, it kind of just is so sort of charming and heartwarming that, like, there's these people just trying to make something out of nothing, essentially, creatively, and aim it at kids, kids, teens and young adults and adults, and a family unit, and the fact that it lasted so long as well, 26 years, and also the fact that, like, I don't have as much of an emotional affinity with the classic series, and yeah, I still feel like I still get it, and I still love it, and I still feel accepted by it and its community, and that I like that aspect. But yeah, I might try and do some more stuff with the Weeping Angels, but then it's tricky, because it's like, or do I focus more on this guy, the antimatter sort of creature, is all I'm just going to call him, or do I focus more on the Weeping Angels? I mean, if you want to sort of say which one you'd rather me focus on more, please do comment below in the comment section. That would be super helpful. The cliffhanger was a bit meh, in my opinion, personally, but if you liked it, hopefully you liked it, and if you did, more power to you. Again, originally, funnily enough, the bit where the Doctor's like falling, and that was originally going to be the cliffhanger to part 3, and then the cliffhanger of part 4, which is this part, would have been what I did for part 3, which would have been the three weeping angels and the Doctor being like, I need your help now more than ever, sort of thing. So yeah, a little bit of a insider scoop, insider scoop, as it were. But I flipped them around, as you already know, that part 3 would be the Weeping Angel and First Doctor cliffhanger, and then part 4 would be the. So yeah, we're down to just the one part now, one part after this, and then we move into the next 2 stories of the series. So yeah, exciting stuff hopefully for you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.